Okay, I'd like to call to order the Hyde Park Board of Education meeting. Today is October 24th, 2013. We're at the district office. At this time, I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss confidential matters pertaining to the employment or future employment of a particular person or persons.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? We are now in executive session. May I have a motion to go out of executive session, please?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? We are now in open session. At this time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I believe there are no agenda modifications for tonight. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. At this point, we will do Pride.
We have a couple of official pieces of Pride, but before we do that, we'll well, it's not official and unofficial, but some we invite people in and put on the agenda. But I do have to say that last night's evening Harvest Pops concert was off the charts. We actually had a couple board member children who were in the concert, and I just wanted to say that you have to go to the Harvest Pops concert. It is one of the most unusual concerts of the whole year, and last night was no exception. Part of it is the students get to choose whether or not they want to be in costume. It's their first concert of the year. They are so revved up, and they do an outstanding job. I also wanted to comment that our music program continues to grow. We have, about 1,300 students in FDR right now? 270 of those 1,300, who are my math people, Steve? 270 of the 1,300 students were involved in the concert last night. So the ratio is 1 in 4, right? Something close to that? Wow, that was good. So a quarter of our students were involved in that concert last night, a true testament to them, their parents, and our music staff. Notably, last year there were 250 students involved, and this year it was 270. And for those of you who don't know, we actually added a second orchestra last year. So I'll let anybody else say anything they want about the concert if they choose to.
Well, why don't you, because, or one of you, because you were a cheerleader
Well,
involved.
Yeah, I'm particularly biased towards the select chorus and the orchestra, because that's where my daughter plays. But I did want to talk about the entire presentation was high caliber, very entertaining, and wanted to tell you that, and I've already spoken with Doug and Kevin on this, but I am thinking that it would be a good idea to invite some of the smaller groups to a Board of Ed meeting, on different occasions, in order to give them broader exposure, especially since these are televised. It would give people watching us on TV an opportunity to see that kind of thing that they might not otherwise see. So unless there's anyone who opposes that, I'll extend that invitation to the President's Men and the First Ladies are the first two small groups that I can think of.
I'd ask that you work with Cora.
I will,
Okay.
but I'm checking with my fellow board members to find out if there's anybody who would oppose, a few minutes in the beginning of a board meeting to do that on,
I'm not opposed. I think, in terms of the high school students, it would be good if it was at the meeting at FDR, because there's more space. Here would be hard to do in this room, but
That's-
I think it's a good idea.
that's a good point. So, but yeah, delightful.
I thought the combined orchestra was just awesome. It
Yep.
was just, it was music I liked.
They all,
And they
yeah.
played well,
They all were good, and
Yes.
I don't want to full disclosure that my son was in a number of the groups, but let me just tell you, he's a great kid, and probably not the strongest student at Roosevelt, but he's a very good kid, good student. But he really loves that, and he loves those teachers, and he just had a ball, and he just, so it's really more what I want to talk about is the teachers, the amount of, the amount of, preparation, and just, he just he loved the music, and and I just talked to him about a couple of the pieces they did, and some of the stuff was kind of old, like, the Brazilian samba, that's all stuff out of the 60s, and he just says, oh, it was really cool. So, I mean, they're just opening them up to things that, I don't think they'd really otherwise be exposed to, and he had a ball. I mean, he loved every piece that he performed. He was, yeah, he had a great time last night. So thank you to the all 5 of the teachers that were involved in what they did last night. They're all great. We're very fortunate.
Okay.
I'll comment that, I'm not noted as a music fan, but I've been to every concert I can get to. Yesterday I managed to sneak under the wire altogether. I wasn't even recognized for being there because I was hiding under my seat. But people have always said to me, well, you had all your kids go through sports. Why are you still here? Why are you still coming to these games? I said, well, have you seen what's on television? This is a heck of a lot better. But last night I would like to point out that I was at that concert, which was a fantastic presentation that ran just about 2 hours, and it wasn't anything there I would have said cut out. I mean, it was fantastic. While the World Series was on, which gives you an idea that, I do give credence to other events going on that are of equal quality, and that was a
'Cause the Mets weren't
fantastically
playing.
qualified one. Pardon?
I think it's just because the Mets weren't playing.
And the other comment I would make, and the thing the chorus selection of songs, they were beautiful songs. They were done beautifully, but a couple of them had some very interesting messages for the kids that were weaved into the music they sang and the lyrics they played. So there's more than just what they're doing, but they can learn from that in many ways that can affect their lives outside of the school and outside of their music. And the selection of the music in that particular case, I think, will have that kind of an impact on the kids. And my kudos to the girl that selected that. Was it Amy?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
You got any-
Just one last plug for the arts, and again, is this the 3rd year of the calendars, Cora? I know each year I get a couple. This is the art department, the theater arts booster club, the art department's booster club, one of their #1 sellers. You can contribute in a couple of ways: be a sponsor, pay for advertising, or just purchase the calendar. They are $15. This is the 3rd year. Each year they just get better and better and better. So I've already purchased a couple and know I'm purchasing a few more. They're great Christmas presents or holiday gifts. And so anyway, I just wanted to bring your attention to these. They're just beautiful. All of the artwork is our students' artwork. And with that,
Well, one other thing, actually, I believe the volleyball team is in sectionals tonight.
Yes.
I don't know how they did, but they had a wonderful season. They were 15-1, and hopefully they did well tonight. So maybe I guess the next meeting we'll be able to mention that. So on to next item. You're going to do
Good.
5-1?
I will turn this over to Cora. We have an extraordinary opportunity to introduce 3 extraordinary teachers who are recognized in New York State. So I'll turn it over to Cora for all of the details.
I'm asking them to come up and join me right away so they can be up here for as long as possible. Right? So to my right are my colleagues Deborah Kravchuk, Dorothy Finley, and Colleen Bucci. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the amazing things that happen in Hyde Park. And by that, I'm going to refer to the fact that in the last 10 years in Hyde Park, we have had the New York State Phys Ed Teacher of the Year. We have had the New York State Art Teacher of the Year. And we have had the first runner-up Teacher of the Year for all of New York State in our schools. And the honor that we're going to talk about tonight is equally incredible. And the work that these 3 women do as educators is just phenomenal. I had the good fortune of hiring 2 of these 3 women. Dorothy beat me here by a few years, several, in fact. But they're here because not too long ago, Governor Cuomo implemented a program inviting teachers across the state to go through an extremely rigorous process and be identified as master teachers. The intention of the program is to address the need for really fine master teachers in the area of science and math. And I'll share with you just a little bit and tell you a little bit about what these folks will be doing in the next 4 years and what they needed to earn this prestigious recognition. One of the things I should tell you is that across the state, a number of teachers have been identified. 19 of them are from our 4-county region, and 3 of them are from our district. So 3 out of 19 for the entire 4-county region is impressive. The first group of master teachers has nearly 1,500 years of combined full-time teaching experience and is comprised of 78 high school teachers, 21 middle school teachers, and 6 with dual responsibilities. Subjects of expertise include calculus, algebra, physics, earth science, chemistry, engineering, design and development, and mechanics. This program was established by Governor Cuomo to identify, reward, and support master math and science teachers throughout the state. The role of master teachers as professional mentors and content experts is key to developing the current cadre of outstanding educators, as well as developing skilled future teachers. Along with this recognition, which came as a result of, as I mentioned, a very rigorous application process. Application, interview, letters of recommendation, videotaped pieces, not for this time, transcripts, the test scores, APPR results, sharing their evaluations. As a result of their being identified, they have a lot of work to do in the next 4 years. And thankfully, and is rightfully so, they will be compensated for that by the state education department. They will be required to work with each other, master teachers from across the state, looking at curriculum, talking about instructional practice, strengthening our capacity to support students in meeting the Common Core Learning Standards. They will be offering professional development and also participating in very intensive professional development over the course of their 4 years. They will be supporting new teachers and also pre-service teachers. So very often in Hyde Park, like in other districts, we talk about how well some of our teachers are being prepared, especially in the areas of science and math. And I'm recalling when I interviewed Deborah Kravchuk, one of the things that I remember, and we were sitting actually in the break room where the board has exec session, because we could be near the windows. We had no power that day, but we had our interview. And we had just a wonderful conversation about Deborah's background as a scientist before becoming an educator. And just the light in her eyes that is there when she talks about her chosen profession, the work that she did as a scientist, and her eagerness to bring that to our students made it very clear from the start that she was going to be a great addition to our team. And I have to say that in addition to her work within the science department, Deborah is also working on her fellowship in Orton-Gillingham. She has worked in our summer bridge program with elementary students the last several years. She provides one-to-one clinical reading support to some of our most severely learning disabled students. Has been involved in the development of some of the new electives that you're aware of over the last several years, paleontology and forensics and some of the other new courses that we have. So much has happened in the district because Deborah Kravchuk joined our team. And Colleen Bucci comes to us having been through the BARD Master in Education program, and we have a very rich experience and collaboration with BARD over the last several years. But what I remember about Colleen, and I still see, I look at Colleen and all I see is wolves. Any of you that have seen or heard about the work at Haviland, bringing the Carey Institute into Haviland and exposing students to the work around life sciences and in particular conservation comes as a result of the work that Colleen has done. The BARD program is an outstanding preparation program, and we continue to work with them. In fact, Deborah and Colleen are both going to be involved in the next bit of talk that I'll do when my time comes to talk about a grant program. But Colleen has been at the middle school for several years and is now at the high school and made that shift for the first time this year. And within the first week of school, I saw her and said, how's it going? And she said, great, I love it here. I just had my talk class with the 812, and I could spend all day there. Just, phenomenal enthusiasm and passion for the work. And Dorothy has been here since 2004, so a little bit longer than me, but not as much as I thought.
No, I was in Millbrook 18 years before then, and Mount St. Mary 2 years after.
Yeah. And Dorothy, for me, when I think about the science department at the high school, although there are teachers there that have a longer tenure, I think of Dorothy as the kind of rock, no pun intended, for the science department. But I think of her as the voice of reason, the person who will hold me and others accountable when there's work to be done on behalf of students and on behalf of colleagues. The whole idea of supporting kids and encouraging them to stay involved in math and science, not just throughout high school, but beyond. I know that her students are in touch with her the year after they graduate, and the year after that, and many the year after that as well. And yes, just knowing that personal connection has been so important to many of our students long after they've left us, I think speaks volumes of the work that she does and the commitment that she has to students. So I could go on and on because these are three of our most outstanding, accomplished educators in the district. And now I can say that I'm not the only one who thinks that. The state education department concurs with what most of us in Hyde Park are already aware of. So I would ask Greer and Doug to come and help me congratulate them more formally. And I thank you for being here, for the time that you've been here, and the contributions that you share and make to our students and to each other. And I just so look forward to learning more from you as you enter this process. It's very exciting. So on behalf of the district, I offer the Certificate of Recognition presented to Colleen Bucci for earning the title of New York State Master Teacher in the area of secondary science. Colleen. Dorothy Finley.
Thank you.
And Deborah Kravchuk. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
And good luck.
Yeah. And we'll put you on another agenda so that you can share with us some of the work that you're doing as time goes by. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I was taking a few minutes, or my computer took a few minutes to pull the agenda up, and I missed that there's another important piece of pride tonight, and that's this is Board Member Recognition Week, and I want to take a moment to just thank the board members. We have a few tokens of our appreciation, some to-go mugs, because we all know you keep going and going and going and going, and also a book called Mindset. And this is probably the #1 nonfiction book on the market right now. It's being used for educators, parents, coaches. It's all about goal setting and goal attainment. So I'm going to read it. I know many of our administrators are going to be looking at it. So if you start to read through it and want to chit chat about it, we can do that and maybe set up a little Google group or something. But that's just for your benefit, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. But I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned, and I certainly know that the whole process of goal setting is incredibly important to us as an educational institution. We do a tremendous amount with goals, so and so do you, as evidenced by your switching from just having goals to SMART goals this year, but I digress. I personally want to thank each of the board members here this evening for all of your hard work and your volunteerism. I could not ask, and the district could not ask for a more thoughtful, dedicated Board of Education. I don't think anybody can calculate the hours that you put in. There's not a single topic that comes up where you don't give it all your undivided attention. It's not always easy. It's 24/7, and it's pretty much every waking moment. There's not a single moment I know that any of you has an opportunity to push your board membership aside. It's there with you, as I said, 24/7. And I want to thank you for the work that you do for all just under 4,000 students in the Hyde Park Central School District. So congratulations to our volunteers. Now everyone's going to find out the really hard work that you do. So I believe our next agenda item is the data dashboard.
Yes.
Okay, this is I'm going to try and make this brief, but as a result of today, I can't, it's hard to make it too brief. So I wrote a little script. I actually left today at 8 o'clock in the morning and arrived back in the district about 3 o'clock because this data dashboard topic has been occupying quite a bit of time and consideration since mid-August. So before you look at that, I'll talk to you a little bit about where this all stems from. 4 years ago, New York State applied to the federal government for the Race to the Top grant. All districts in New York State are part of the Race to the Top, even if they don't qualify for funding or rejected the funding. It was a state application for federal funding, and we received it. This is all linked with the teacher and principal evaluation system, and the adoption of the Common Core standards. Hyde Park was allocated $144,000 to implement the Race to the Top grant, Common Core learning standards, the new APPR, data, and part of the Race to the Top was communication. We're in year 3, and we have $36,000 for this year to be spent to continue this initiative. The $36,000 has to be spent on the APPR, the Teacher and Principal Evaluation Effectiveness Program. Previously, we pooled all our money with many other districts, with a few of them set out to do this on their own, but most districts in Dutchess County pooled our money and to go to BOCES to help us with this Teacher and Principal APPR. That resulted in $300,000, which was to be spent on 2 employees to help all of the districts that pooled their money with APPR initiatives. In year 1, BOCES was able to secure 2 people for the $300,000. In the next 2 years, they were only capable of securing 1 person, even though they got the money through $300,000. So last year, our Race to the Top money went pooled with the others in Dutchess BOCES. There was 1 employee for, I don't know how many districts, probably 11. And again, this year they have 1 employee for about 11 districts. And that's where our Race to the Top money is going. This year we have a decision to make about spending more money on this teacher and principal evaluation. This August, seemingly out of nowhere, we received word that part of our Race to the Top application project included some language about communication and data. So we were notified in mid-August that we were to sign up for a dashboard portal by the end of September. And forums were held with 3 vendors demonstrating their products. The deadline for the end of September was subsequently extended to October 31st because people didn't quite get what this data dashboard portal was all about. So it was extended till the end of October. Basically, the vendors were showing what their products will be capable of doing, i.e. mock-ups of deliverables outlined in an RFP. Dashboards, these dashboard portals, will be ready by December with no testing or piloting. The dashboard, according to the state education, is supposed to provide a service to schools and parents. And that's interesting. I'll get back to that in a minute. So, and I may be a little jumpy here, so if you get confused, just stop me. But to give you an idea of what the data dashboard, what is purporting to do, right now, all districts, every single district in New York State belongs to a regional information center. Ours is the Mid-Hudson Regional Information Center. There's a data warehouse. We are required by law to submit all of our data through to the Regional Information Center to be reported to the State Education Department. So our data goes to the Mid-Hudson Regional Information Center, and it gets to State Education Department in what is called Level 2. We release our data when they say it reaches Level 2. The proposal that we learned of in late August and early September, and we're still learning about, is that the state has contracted with In Bloom, a data repository, and that their intention is going to be to extract our data and put it here in this data repository. What we're being asked to do is to now choose a portal, which they'll give us to for free for 2 years, and I'll get back to free, And we had to choose, we were supposed to choose by October 31st, one of these three vendors. And this portal is supposed to be a service to us and to parents. I just have to pause for a minute and say that when the Race to the Top application was being put together, the projects for Race to the Top were being put together, it was 2008. And many school districts did not have a portal. Most school districts now have a portal. We have a portal. So one of the confusing things is, why are we being required to choose a portal when we already have one? We haven't even had a chance to open up our portal or fully implement the portal, but now we're being asked to choose another portal and have two portals simultaneously. And I'll get to the questions here, because this is an interesting piece. So we're required to give our data to here, and now we're told that by taking the Race to the Top money, our data is now going to be sent here. And so if we take this year's Race to the Top money, the data is going someplace else. I'm going to make one commentary and you'll hear a few others. One of the main reasons that they're talking about the dashboard is so that we can use it for instructional purposes. And yet this year, SED has refused to release to us the item analysis for the state assessments. So we can get all these scores we want about saying a kid is a 1, 2, 3, or 4, but if we don't know which items were at what difficulty and which items were missed, how can we possibly use it for instruction? None of this will make that happen. None of our money, the $36,000 we have left to spend with this money, will go to anything at the student level. It has to go to further train on our teacher and principal, the APPR, which I think we're all pretty clear there's some real questions about that system. So a couple of other things. The dashboard portal is meant to provide a shared, and I have a lot of IBMers here, so you can play with this later on, is meant to provide a shared data language with tools for applications for applications to multiple student information management systems. It provides a middle layer of infrastructure. I'll go back to, in 2008, that might have sounded good. I'm not so sure we need this middle level and to what end. But be that as it may, that's what that's designed to do. So that's the repository, and this dashboard is going to help us manage this data that we already send out. But one of the benefits could be that a parent could go onto the portal and see multiple years of their students' assessment results. Okay, so right now the deadline is October 31st. Of the 700 school districts in New York State, only 20 have signed up for a portal. My hunch is that the 20 districts that signed up well before, probably around September 15th, before any of the controversy arrived. That's a speculation. But I know that that number 20 has not moved in about 3 or 4 weeks. 20 districts have signed up for the portal. We have not signed up for the portal yet. So I went to a meeting today, and there were about 70 superintendents, assistant superintendents, and we had 2 representatives from the state education department and 1 regent fellow. And there are a lot of questions around how and why this portal. So I'm going to read a few questions and some of the responses. Exactly what data will be sent to the in-bloom system? State Education Department, we will get back to you. FERPA laws have changed since the original application of Race to the Top. There's a conflict with the 400 elements in the data dictionary warehouse and the way they've been interpreted into the In Bloom repository. Do we have clarity about the discrepancies and changes in the FERPA laws? The answer was no, we do not have clarity about the FERPA laws. Will the data be sold? No, the data will not be sold. Does the State Education Department have the authority to share the data? Yes. Can we opt out of the dashboard? Yes, but we will lose that $36,000 that has to be sent on helping us with the APPR. We have not received much beneficial help with the money. I'm sure we could come up with ways to make our teacher evaluation system from now till June a little bit better at the expense of this. So, and we may, the competitive grants that we may be able to apply for, we may cut ourselves off. We've already applied to some of the competitive grants. I don't know if we can have the energy or time to apply for more grants that they won't give us the money up front. So that would be the risk, one risk, is losing the money for APPR. Okay, the next question. Who is authorizing the data release from level 2? So who is in charge of the mechanism to release the data? Who says what data and what can be released, knowing that there are districts that sent their money back or never received it? The answer was, we don't know who's making the decision to push the data. We'll get back to you. We got a lot of that. Is the data from districts who are not to the top sent to In Bloom? If so, what data is sent? Will it be different? We don't know. Can we opt out of, if we say we're going to keep our Race to the Top money, or we're not going to take your Race to the Top money for APPR, can we opt out of In Bloom? We don't know. We'll get back to you. What is the penalty if we miss the deadline for the portal on October 30th because we don't have enough information to make an informed decision? They do not know the penalty. What data will be expected to send in the future? What data can we be expected to send in the future in addition to what we already don't know we're sending? We don't know. So Gary, when I said if you saw the day I had, they tried to cancel their meeting with us, and then were convinced otherwise to come. Why did New York State go to an outside vendor instead of working through our regional information center? So we have this really well-oiled machine of a regional information center, and it's a really well-oiled machine right now to go through there. Why did we not work within this and go to one vendor? What was the answer? They don't know. Were there other vendors consulted? The answer was, at the time, that was the only vendor that had what they were looking for. There are other vendors that could be capable, but we didn't wait to see if anybody could even come near that. But so that was that. Has the data been extracted yet? We heard mixed messages that our data is already in Bloom, so whether you choose a dashboard or not, your data is already there. That's what we thought. So we asked the question, is our data already there? They were not sure. Okay, so you get the picture. There were a few more questions. So what are some of the issues surrounding this $36,000 that we can take or leave at this point? This is an unfunded mandate. The amount of time and energy I have spent, Cora has spent, and Forrest has spent since August, mid-August, when we found out about this, is extraordinary. Once we do this, triple it. And we're going to get money to help us with an evaluation system that's flawed at best. We're relinquishing some local control. We'll have a bunch of data throughout the state that's aggregated without any interpretation and no instructional value because we still don't know what the item maps are for our state assessments. There's an incredibly big negative effect on special act and high needs district once this disaggregated data is utilized in whatever way. The state keeps saying that we'll answer all of your questions about security, and I can tell you right now that the parents we are talking to are not worried about the security of the system from a hacker. They are worried about the security of their children's data to profit-making vendors and having information about their children sent to colleges and elsewhere. It's not about somebody hacking the system. And every time we go to security, they tell us nobody will ever be able to hack our system. And I think every bank and every governmental agency, someone's been able to hack. But I can tell you right now, right, Laurie, the parents are not worried about hackers. They're worried about what's going to be done with their data. Available data. This is the data as a result of Common Core that's implemented fast-paced, where now the assessments don't match the curriculum because we haven't had time, so we're going to spend money and time to do a portal. And I'm not saying this concept, a portal, isn't good and we might not get somewhere, but we're not ready. It's adding a layer and compounding a stressed-out system with little clarity on what benefits to parent or staff in the immediate future. I'm winding down here. I was pretty wound up earlier today. But, and I was calm compared to many of the other superintendents in the room. Okay, so some of the other issues, there are no pilots or trial runs. We're just supposed to sign up on this. We don't know if it'll work. We're going to be bogged down in it. There's no clear answers on who will have access to the data for what purpose. The whole concept that, state ed can choose how to use it with researchers and, well, who's funding the research? Is it for-profit companies that will fund the research and then have access to our data? We just don't know. And one of the other issues may be some criticism if we send the Race to the Top money back. And that's a reality. And for some districts, it's a lot of money and a lot of needed money. But I need to be clear, it's not money where we can do what we want to do with it. It has to go to that teacher and evaluation system. So our options tonight, I put a resolution on the table. We have one option for the board to modify the agenda and adopt a resolution to opt out of the dashboard, and we will lose this year's funding to go to APPR and possibly miss out on more grants that we would have to apply for, and we've applied for a number of them. We can wait to see if the deadline is extended and more questions are answered, since we don't know what the penalty is. Or we could select a dashboard, take the money and opt out on July 1st. My recommendation would be to either play chicken with the deadline or to adopt the resolution. And I think I guess my recommendation is that we really need to slow this train down. And I would recommend the resolution to opt out of the dashboard. If we have any chance of doing a teacher and principal evaluation system properly, if we have any way of getting an assessment system with data that's meaningful, we can opt out. It sends a strong message. It doesn't prevent us from opting in at a future time. So it's open for discussion. Sorry, that was probably...
Did we already get the $36,000?
No, we don't have it.
Oh, I was going to say, just spend it. And then
No, we don't
let
have
them
it.
worry about it.
We'll put your name on the voucher, though.
Yeah, that's okay.
Interestingly, the deadline, they're tying that deadline into this, and so the deadline has been extended. They didn't put any deadline in, but we're supposed to apply for our Race to the Top money like yesterday. And the dashboard deadline is October 31st.
Okay, and the portal that we already have is through eSchool Data, or?
That's eSchool Data. And again, we're not fully utilizing that. We haven't rolled that out yet.
Wouldn't it be more effective for our own district to use that data, since that's going to be more inclusive? I mean, the state data is just state testing, and
Right.
what else?
Well, the data that is now going beyond the state includes discipline data, career choice data, all the disaggregated data on
So it's the data,
socioeconomic. It's every 400 elements of data, and so.
but it's stuff that we send.
Oh, it's
We
all
know.
stuff we send. Yes, it's
So-
all stuff we send, and we know. And our portal is really more about parent use and opening it up to parents to see report cards and grade books, and we haven't had a chance to really kind of peel back that onion. We're using it for many things, but its capabilities are, it has much more capability. We haven't even had a chance to use the one we own, and this would be adding another layer.
Greer? If I understood correctly, there was some question as to whether or not our data has already gone to that In Bloom system,
Yep.
which means that we have released data from here to the Regional Information Center?
We're waiting for confirmation. Oh, no, we have released it to the regional. We have to. Our data is already in the warehouse, and it's already at the State Education Department level 2. Our data, by law, this is one step we can't do, is put our data in the warehouse, and then it's leveled up to the State Ed Department.
So if we opt out, all we're opting out of is having a portal to look at the data at our end?
Right now, that's my understanding.
So the information we've sent, which we have to continue to send, is going to get to In Bloom, and whether we want to be part of it or not, we're faced with the same exposure as every other district that joined it in terms of having it released to whoever justifies its need for analysis or anything else?
No, we're waiting for verification. That was the one thing they couldn't tell us, is whether or not we can opt out of In Bloom and if our data is there yet.
All right.
So again, this is, there are so many answers we don't have. So here are the people that came who are supposed to know, and they couldn't even tell us if we can opt out of the In Bloom part or if our data is there.
Now, the speaker for the state wasn't named King, was he?
No,
Oh, all right.
They work for him, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we couldn't have a New York State government shut down for a couple of weeks.
I'd opt for
think they
a
already
longer
are.
period of time.
We get done.
Right, was this done by the same group that did the healthcare.gov?
Yeah, I was thinking the same
With
thing.
10-year-old technology.
Yeah.
That
I
we
mean-
assure you will never get hacked.
If you
Lost.
if you were ever employed in the business world, you would have run the other way, because nobody would ever operate a business this way.
No, absolutely not.
I can see the man walking in the door and his first sentence is going to be, "For you, I'm working a deal."
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what they assured us that the number one message, they assured us that there were a couple of key answers. They were going to get back to us as soon as possible, and they assured us that their number one message was to move the deadline, because it was really obvious that they were asking us to make a decision on things that they could not answer. So what was clear is we can opt out of that piece of it and not continue with the funding for our teacher and principal evaluation system.
They had no problem coming and asking us to sign a voucher with unlimited value for unknown data for an undefined period of time.
Right.
Oh, all right.
And there was, I think someplace there was something about, and I have to verify that, about Amazon having access to In Bloom, but I have to verify that.
One of the things that I think we discussed in the technology subcommittee on this topic is the fact that the first 2 years of the dashboard service from the vendor that we would choose, the cost of that vendor would be free or would be covered by the state for the first 2 years. It's my understanding that the third and subsequent years, we would have to cover those costs. Is that your
Yes.
current understanding?
Yes, any continuation would be a charge. And I mean, the big elephant in the room is, yeah, you'll give us that dashboard for free, but if you consider that dashboard is going to take up an enormous amount of Forrest's time, my time, and Cora's time, is that free?
So I was just referring to
Yes.
monetary cost. The opportunity cost and the resource that you're referring to is much more precious, frankly. But my point here is, do we have an idea of what that monetary cost would be?
Yeah,
We do.
we do.
Um,
The most, it goes from very little, under $1 a student, up to $5 a student
Per year?
per year.
Depending on the vendor we choose?
Yes.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the only vendor that seems to give you reasonable data is the
$5.
$5.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so that means that it ranges in cost per year from roughly $4,000 to roughly $20,000 a year.
And what was difficult about that, Steve, while we're talking about the per student cost, and again, a timeline, when you look at the per student cost, so I'm vendor A, and I say you can have my portal for $1.62 a student, and vendor B, you can have my portal for $5 a student. Well, what are you giving me for the $5, and what are you giving me for the $1.62? The $5 may have a package with 15 things included, and the $1.62 may have 2 things, and then everything that's an add-on is $3 per student. So nobody has had the time to analyze what are the add-ons, what components would we want in the first place, what is considered an add-on, and does vendor A consider this an add-on and it'll be an extra charge and it's included in vendor B? And we really haven't had time to roll up our sleeves. So from the perspective of, let's say, you just erase everything I just said. And I came in here and I said, we need to select a portal and we don't have any choice. I will tell you that Forrest and I would need another couple of weeks or a month to really analyze these offerings.
The other issue here is the status of our own portal. I understand that that's part of the package that we already subscribe to from MHRIC, the Mid-Hudson Valley Regional Information Center. So where I'm going here is, do we have a schedule and plan for making that available to the public and to parents?
We're working on that right now. We're in dialogue with opening up the portal for report cards. We have to work within our bargaining units because some of it is additional work and would be in the case of that. But we're working on that, and we actually are seeing some movement to say, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this thoughtfully, and let's take it to the next level. So there is an awareness that we have this tool and this capability. We want to track some of our local assessments so that we can use it for instructional purposes. And there's some awareness that, yes, we'd like to do that as well. And some of it's just a matter of, really going electronic instead of paper for some of the recording of our grades and our data. So, yeah, we would like to continue this work regardless of whether or not we have to have 2 portals running simultaneously. That's another unknown, Steve. Good point out. Our vehicle for getting our data to the Regional Information Center, so we are using our eSchool effectively in one huge area, and that's what's making all this happen. And there's no plan to say, okay, so if you choose this dashboard, now you drop what you have. They're saying, no, you don't drop what you have because you can't drop what you have and do this, but this portal will make it so that all this talks to each other. Your student information, they're saying that we wouldn't drop our student information management system necessarily, especially not right away. Not this year. No way, it's mid-year. And what they're telling us is, oh, don't worry about that because this will make it so that everything talks to each other. I don't know that I need everything to talk to each other right now. I think I need to better utilize our own portal and, maybe see where this goes.
I guess I would go for the let's play chicken, see if we can get the race to the top money, spend it, and then decide whether or not to opt in or out of this thing that doesn't seem very well planned at the moment. And certainly we can, if it turns out to be a good thing, pick it up next year. But that's my opinion, anyway.
We can play. We can miss the deadline on Friday and see if there's more answers. I mean, my big hunch is they're going to say it's going to be extended again. And if they extend the deadline, then we don't have to give the money back. And by the time they get their act together, if they extend the deadline, even if we select a portal, nothing will happen and it'll be July 1st and then we can make a decision. I mean, that's another way to go. It depends on, do you want to send a strong statement about,
I agree. You've mentioned the commitment you and Cora and Boris would have to make to go with trying to select the portal, trying to select the vendors and stuff like that. If we played chicken to cover ourselves, how much of that commitment would go away, and how much would still have to stay in place to keep us from finding out at the end of the road is just a cliff that we fell off, and to dig us up out of the cliff is going to cost us $36,000 plus. I mean, if I vote say yeah, let's do it, saying we're not going to spend the $36,000, we're going to play chicken and use that money elsewhere, and we can opt in July, I still need to know how much effort is being expended within a district to necessarily cover what we need to do.
Oh, well, a couple of things. We don't have the money, so it's a matter of not moving forward. So we don't have the money now. We have to push the button to get the money. So we have to send in our Race to the Top application now. So Cora and I are poised to come up with a plan to spend the money. And that would be all new work. And we would utilize the money to train more teachers, train more principals in this new teacher evaluation system. That would be all new work. If we don't take the money, Cora and I still train the teachers and the principals, and we still do all of the evaluations. So it's a matter of accepting money that can be used for additional training for the APPR.
Seems like an awful lot of effort for, I'm not saying that $36,000 is chump change, but it seems like an awful lot of work that's created by taking money that's essentially just for training.
And basically what we do is we come up with schedules, and I'm not saying we wouldn't do good things with it, but we basically give the money for outsiders to come in and do some training within our schools and with our admin team, either before the day or during the school day, or a combination of both. So it's additional training. I
guess the way I heard your explanation, the narrative of the meeting and your diagram and some of the other information, to me it just sounds like, they dangle a $36,000 carrot so they can build a big bureaucracy. That they're really not too clear how it's going to work or what it's going to do for anybody. Am I missing something, or is that what I'm hearing?
No, I kind of agree with you there.
So it seems
I feel like it's going to,
Right.
has a potential to get worse before it gets better. Going
Yeah, I'm
back to
almost
the
of the
Affordable
yeah.
Healthcare Act,
Right.
it's almost similar in confusion.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the money. If we push the button, we get money and we use it for APPR training.
It seems to me that we're talking about a trade-off in administration resource, administration time. Either we go ahead and accept the the Race to the Top funds, and then I'm going to use the word waste our time selecting a portal, which then we're not done with. We have to make sure that we follow through and get it implemented correctly. A poor implementation is going to reflect poorly on us.
Right.
It's not going to reflect poorly on the state. And right now, given the amount of guidance and thought that the state has put into this, I have no faith in their ability to deliver a quality product. So balance that resource cost of selecting the portal against the alternative, which is to turn down the Race to the Top funds and spend our administration's time planning the training and doing the APPR training anyway. It seems like we are better off turning away the money, turning away the headache and all of the liabilities that come with being a part of a plan that exports our student data to a vendor that we have no control over. Yeah, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I really hate the idea of my kids' information in a database that the state is controlling. I mean, who knows for what reason or
Yeah,
to whom they're going
right,
to give that
and
data.
To what end,
Right.
really? It's just
And-
collecting data to build a bureaucracy. To what end is this data of any value
That's
to
right.
anybody
So-
or anything?
This is one of the few times that it seems like we can tell them that we don't want their unfunded mandate and that we're going to maintain control of our data.
Well, we hope we will, but it's a shot at it anyway. There's no shot at it the other way. I will just add one thing, and that is that when we approach a school year, and especially when we get to this point in time in the school year, and, this is really Cora and Aviva and all the directors, our staff development plan is set. We have our plan for the year. This would be taking new money and putting it on top of the already existing plan for staff development. Again, doesn't mean we wouldn't utilize the money and come up with creative ways, but we spend the whole summer putting together how we're going to operate the school year. Before we end the school year, we select our early release days, our superintendent conference days. So we're not sitting around waiting for what we're going to do for our professional development this year. And again, I'm not making any bones about it. We are, we're saying no to some money that, if we comply and don't opt out, we have to take the money and we have to find a way to use it. So,
For the APPR.
only for the APPR.
The data is going to be collected no matter what we do. And we have no assurance that it's not going to go from level 2 into in Bloom.
Right.
So I would take the money and then opt out of this thing. I think they're so messed up that they'll never know the difference.
Well, I guess my only caution is I'll make a recommendation. So I'll hazard it a little. I'll make a recommendation that we miss our deadlines. And on November 7th, if I feel that we're in jeopardy of losing money or further penalty, I think the worst that can happen is we'll be late in pushing the button. And the best case scenario is they'll have extended the deadline and we'll gain a little bit of time.
So the deadline you're referring to is the deadline for signing up for a portal.
Right.
What is the deadline for applying for the Race to the Top funds?
Thursday. Oh, the deadline for Race to the Top, they say it's passed, but they don't know. Sorry. the deadline is passed,
Just to see.
but
how this thing
knowing
works, please.
that the race to the top, knowing that everybody's struggling with, do I sign up for this? They have kept the portal open without a closing date. So right now, our race to the top application is late, but they've opened the portal without a second deadline. So it's just open. So right now, we can submit a race to the top, and they're hounding us. We can submit our race to the top application tomorrow, and it would be accepted and there'd be no penalty. And I don't know how long that will last.
So one of the concerns I have here is that it's not clear whether by accepting the Race to the Top funds, we are committing ourselves to the signing up for a portal.
Oh, no, that's 100% clear right now.
That if we sign up for Race to the Top, that we are committing
I have
ourselves
to
to a portal?
choose one of those three portals. That's a definite.
Then
Oh,
By when?
I would,
oh,
By
I missed
October 31st, by Thursday.
Okay.
all right.
So this
then-
is where they may play games with us, too, so.
So in my opinion, we should not apply for Race to the Top funds.
Right,
Absolutely not.
I missed that.
Sorry.
connection.
This was, I will tell you, my brain was spinning today. So if we're clear, then we'll stand behind, the board will do what it needs to do to make that happen then right now.
Okay.
Yep. Furthermore, if we've already chosen not to accept the Race to the Top funds, then there is no reason not to put this resolution on tonight's agenda and pass it. Right? There's no reason to wait on that decision.
I'm good with
So-
that. As far as lesson planning goes, this was difficult because talk about flying by the seat of your pants, this information was today. So it was difficult to piece it together in a crystal clear format.
Was this,
But you should feel confident, Greer, that whatever information you had today is going to be changed by tomorrow.
Yes.
was this resolution that you have before us, did you run this through the attorney?
Not through our attorney. It was vetted by Shaw and Pearlson.
Okay.
It was adopted last evening and
District?
by other districts. And I've worked with Shaw and Pearlson. I
Yeah,
think
we
you're all
used to- we
familiar with
used to use
Shaw and Pearlson. So they have vetted this.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we amend the agenda and add consideration of this resolution.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, we will add that as,
Last item.
Do you mind if I read it, just for the benefit of the public, so if anybody
Well,
wants
we'll
to
read it
speak
at the
about it?
time we
No, I
announce.
meant if, well, people ought to hear it before, during public participation, if they want to comment on it. I
Okay.
doubt anybody's going to object, but they ought to know what it says before we actually vote on it.
we'll make it,
Should bring a hold of this before you leave tomorrow
Oh,
to
God,
enjoy
I
yourself.
You know, we pop
We
it on the
can-
agenda and then,
11.8.
That's a good idea,
Yeah.
or I'm willing to surrender my copy so it can be passed around.
yeah,
the-
that's fine, either way, but people ought to be aware of what, you know, so
All
if they
right.
want to comment on it, they
We'll
can.
put it on the agenda as 11.8.
Okay.
We'll pass it around. I also will read it.
That, already on it, okay.
Thank you.
My apologies for the unexpected lengthy,
That's it. Okay. For every minute over 2 minutes, you lose on the next, on your next presentation. Uh-oh.
Thank you, Steve.
Oh. All right, well. We did vote, and we did, right, okay. So, moving on, let's go back up. So we're going to add that as 11.8. Let me get back up to, stop. We're to the STEM grant.
I get to do all the fun things tonight.
In less than 10 minutes.
In less than 10 minutes,
Okay,
not a
all right.
problem. I can do it in 2.5.
Ooh,
I started the clock already.
Okay, so.
you get minutes in the
I just
bank.
wanted to share some information with you about a grant that we've received through the State Education Department, so there's some good news as well. And the criteria for the grant is that the funds must be used to support our students who are either economically disadvantaged or students with disabilities who have struggled in their performance on the statewide tests. And the program is much like what I was discussing earlier with our master teachers, focused on supporting STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And the grant also requires that we work with a higher ed institute, so we've collaborated with BARD. And the grant is going to include the opportunity for 5 of our teachers, 2 of whom are in our audience, Colleen and Deborah, to participate in intensive training with BARD around inquiry-based learning with students. Students that we identify will spend 5 field trips at BARD over the course of the school year, 5 Saturdays. And the project will culminate in a week-long program at BARD next summer for those students and their teachers. So we're very excited about the collaboration. The grant itself was written over the summer and included participation from our BARD faculty, our colleagues there. Our first field trips or the first training for our teachers are scheduled in November, and our field trips for students start after the December holidays. So we're very excited, and we'll keep you posted on what that looks like once it begins. But it is good news and a great opportunity for our students who might not typically think about an opportunity to either be at a college or have that kind of aspiration to do so with the support of their teachers.
Now, participation is at no cost to the families at all, right?
Thank you, Dan. Participation is at no cost to the families. So a full week at BARD, the 5 field trips, transportation is included, stipends for the teachers are included because it is Saturdays and a week long during the summer, and meals will be provided to students as well. So thank you. Good clarifying question.
Anybody else have any questions?
Oh, that's pretty straightforward.
All right.
Everything should work that way.
We were,
Can't they all be like this?
Elliot, you can give a, all right. Wayne is not here for the capital project update,
But Elliot is.
but Elliot is.
Yeah, you almost got away with
And
it.
Elliot's going to do it in 3.5 minutes or less.
Good evening. I promise I'll keep it even briefer than that. Very exciting time for us. All of our capital projects are well underway, all various stages nearing completion. The most exciting, our track and field, now has its new rubberized track surface. It is painted and lined. It looks incredible. For anybody that hasn't been up there to see it, it really brings the whole facility to life. Couple of things that are left to do, a lot of final touches, tweaks. There's going to be a sign going up over the entryway. We're going to be laying the sod in the next month or so for the soccer fields on the south end, as well as the event areas behind the grandstands for the throwing events for track and field. We also have some mechanical stuff, a well going in, some extra gates, the pavement logo, real just finishing touches to the project overall. In addition to the track and field, we have our boiler projects, which are all keeping close to schedule. We've got heat on in every building. Every boiler plant has been commissioned. There's been a couple of hiccups here and there, but for the most part, everything is operational. So we look forward to having those wrapped up in the next month or so as well. Our North Park ceiling project went off without a hitch. We got a lot more done than we anticipated within budget and within our timelines. And our modifications to the Haviland Middle School heat lines are also well underway and nearing completion. So right now, as far as boiler projects are concerned, the commissioning is done. The final inspections are pending and the punch lists as well. We're approaching punch list time with the track and field. Our architects and engineers have been on site looking at all the little nuances of things that need to be corrected. Wayne's been dialed in the whole time, making sure that our budgets are straight and the project stays on course. Amy McCardle's been hugely influential in making sure that we're getting exactly what we need for our students. So the project team crew overall has just done a phenomenal job, and we appreciate the support of the board and administration as we got these things all done for our students. So that's it. Quick.
One quick
Thank you.
question.
Thank you.
The throwing areas,
Yes, sir.
the surface there is going to be dirt? Something, what is it?
We have sod going in the soccer areas as well as the throwing areas, so there will be a combination of dirt and grass in the back as well.
Amen.
So to Mark,
Yeah.
I'm just concerned, not concerned, but,
Right.
in the past, when I participated in track and field back in 19, normally the only problem, the question in every event was marking where the shot put or the javelin or the item landed and correctly measuring back from that. And I was just wondering what kind of a surface the item's going to fall on.
I will verify for you, but I believe there's a sod allowance for that area as well. Currently, the circles themselves are identified in pavement.
They're
but-
already paved and ready to
Right,
go, yeah.
Correct.
No, thank you.
Okay. Any
Thank
other
you, Elliot. You can
questions?
come back anytime.
Excellent.
Thank you, Elliot.
Thanks, Elliot.
We'll even add 30 seconds to your next presentation. You did so well.
No, it doesn't work that way. Sorry.
Come on.
Sorry, no.
Exactly.
Okay, moving on. At this time, may I have a motion to enter public participation, please?
So moved?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? We are now in public participation. If anybody would like to address the board, please step up to the mic. And
Hi, my name is Kathy Craven, and I'm here about the boys' swim team. After the special board meeting concerning the boys' swim team merge on Monday, the issue of busing came up. Has any progress been made on the issue of busing the kids to practice?
thank you,
Sorry.
Mr. Erickson.
And to meets for the FDR students and the Haviland students who've passed the selection classification test? And I would also like to ask about the inclusion of Coach Kettner. He would be an advocate for the FDR and would ease the transition. Thank you.
A return of a veteran. Mr. Hughes.
Good evening, Steve Hughes. Seems you've gone from a dearth of dashboards to a plethora.
Get you back.
I wasn't clear of the final decision, but I would ask that the resolution be read aloud when you vote on it so the TV audience can hear it. And also, as you develop your existing dashboard, I understand that parents and staff are your primary audience, but there is an audience in the community at large. So I would ask that you would consider the kinds of information that community members would be interested, such as graduation rates, aggregate student performance, number of staff, those kinds of things. It's not just parents, it's everyone. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board? May I have a motion to close public participation?
So moved.
Second?
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? We are now out of public participation. Would anybody like to respond? First, I'd like to respond to Mr. Hughes. I think that's an excellent suggestion. And I was wondering if you had enough spare time to make your own dashboard portal for us. We had to start.
You're ahead of your
Third time's a
time.
charm, Steve.
Could have made big bucks with state ed.
We have some information about busing in the coach, and I'll let the superintendent.
Okay, so for transportation to meets, here's what I have found. I'll just start with last year. Last year, the swim team had 12 away meets, and the buses left generally around 1:30 from the high school to attend away meets. 2 was pretty much the latest, but they left between 1:30 and 2 for all the away meets. This year, we only have 4 away meets scheduled, so the buses would leave the same time they did last year for away meets. So it is around 1:30, and that is no change from last year for away meets. So we will have 4 away meets that the students need to leave early. The good news is last year it was 12 times. This year it will only be 4 times. For the away meets, one of the things that came into question was whether or not the students would be bused to Marlboro, to be bused to someplace else. We are fortunate that the 4 away meets are in places where there's no additional time to stop at Marlboro. So For example, for us to go from here to Minnesink, we pass in front of Marlboro, so to spend the extra 10 minutes to stop at Marlboro, we'd stop at Marlboro and ride the bus with the Marlboro, with the team, with the whole swim team. So all of the transportation for the swim meets, both home and home meets are considered Marlboro. No change from last year. Home meets were considered Marlboro, and the bus leaves at the end of the school day as it did last year. So just to recap, travel for meets, the bus will leave at the end of the school day for home meets, and for away meets, we only have 4, and it'll leave the same time it did last year, which is anywhere between 1:30 or 2, but depending on where it is. And I know for at least 3 of the meets, and I'll double check the 4th, we can ride with Marlboro. And not add any additional time because of the location of the schools where we compete for away meets. The transportation for practices, we're still working on. We are working on it 100%, and I'm not seeing a reason why we won't have it in place. Again, I don't have the plan right now, but we are working on it. It's a matter of making sure we have the drivers lined up, so we're working on that. And as for adding an assistant coach position, it's twofold. One, we have merged, and so any additional coaching would be a coaching staff on the merged team. So we are not adding a position of a coach, of an assistant coach, at this time. I will add one comment. I know that the concern was to have an advocate for our team in this merger situation, and a couple of things. One is that we did merge, and we merged with Marlboro, so the Marlboro coach will be the coach of the team. I truly understand the concern that, maybe we won't get fair play. However, again, our experience is that people play fair, and your best swimmers swim. And no coach would say, I'm putting an inferior student on the roster. But knowing that it is a concern, we have made a 100% commitment to collaborate both at the athletic director level, and we'll meet an athletic director. Our athletic director knows that this is our number one priority and concern. I will certainly make a personal commitment to go to swim meets. I personally know both superintendents who are the president and vice president of Section 9, and also personally know the superintendent of Marlboro. So we will do everything we can to support and make the best scenario for our students. We have no reason to doubt or reason to question that a merger would put us in a position where the receiving coach would intentionally harm our students.
All right, let me just add something I think you forgot,
Okay,
and that
sorry.
is in coaching, there are certain union rules, and we would have to follow the Marlboro coaching rules, and they would have, even if we paid for an assistant coach, they would get first dibs. That, somebody, just like here, if a position is posted, our teacher's contract says that any teacher who has the ability and wants to and can be certified can take that position before we'll look for it outside of the district. So there were union issues with us supplying a coach when we discussed it. So it's one of those district things. We are governed by the Marlboro district rules for coaching. But I think, as Greer said, that we'll make every effort to make sure that all students are treated equally.
Yeah, and I think to be fair, we want to also indicate that, with a merged program, it's Marlboro's show. Doesn't mean that their kids get all the preferences. That's not what I meant. But they are the employer of the coach or coaches. And so any employment decisions that get made are they make. We don't come in, and say, oh, by the way, here we are, and oh, by the way, we brought our employee with us, and we're putting him in charge. It's not possible. And we've had a history of merged football teams at FDR, a couple years ago with Rhinebeck, and Rhinebeck certainly didn't dictate any terms or say who's going to coach. Those kids that, we provided an opportunity in Rhinebeck because it was a small district and they gave up the football program, provided an opportunity for kids in Rhinebeck to play football that couldn't otherwise play football, but it was on our terms, it was our program. They were just joining us. So, this is really no different, other than in reverse. We're the joinees.
All right, is there any other comments? All right, moving on to the, I believe there's no board discussion on the agenda for tonight,
Except for that unplanned one.
right? Unless you want to discuss the dashboard again. Okay, sorry.
It fits in with the Halloween theme, though.
All right. Can I have a motion
Scary.
for the consent agenda, please?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I just have a quick comment on the, I was just reviewing the minutes from the October 10th meeting. I was listed as present. I am sure I wasn't here. I was in Syracuse on business, so didn't vote yes for anything, but I was not here.
That was the meeting that went really fast. Is that-
Don't try to hang that on me next time.
Yes, it was. Doug,
Could
I
have
have a
Skyped in and dragged it out for you, but.
What are you trying to say?
Personnel question.
On the personnel agenda, I have a question for Cora.
Let's use on this.
In the section on C-section support staff personnel, there is a area where we're talking about substitute appointments, where we're listing names, but I'm not sure, I've seen one like this before, and I'm not sure what we're doing.
I can find where you are.
It's on the last page.
On personnel?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to open it up.
Support
Thanks.
staff personnel?
Yeah, the last page of that. It's area.
Substitute appointments.
And your question is what?
What are we doing?
I'll, want me to translate?
Go ahead.
Because he asked me the question and I didn't know.
Okay.
We usually say these are new substitutes, and it doesn't read that way this time. So are these substitutes who are filling positions, or are these people being added to a substitute list?
Thank you. These are people that are being added to a substitute list. So where you see two names under substitute teaching assistant, those are people that are being added to our list of subs for the purpose of supporting teaching assistants.
Yeah, I think the wording that's generally there is not there.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it almost sounds like you're appointing them to work.
This too,
I get what you're
should
saying.
mention
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Oh, I saw the names and stuff.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
it sounded more
Plus,
like.
it included budget codes too, you know?
Well, the only thing
Yeah.
I could think of was that we were having a permanent substitute in each building.
Oh, those were the days. I remember it well.
And all the problems we had with it.
So we would like to just point out two items on the personnel staff that are listed. One, Lou, if you could stand up and wave. Lou Chiaffi is our new interim athletic director in Amy's absence. So welcome aboard, Lou. We are, as we told you earlier, we are thrilled to have you. You come with a wealth of expertise. You know everybody in Section 9, and we are thrilled to be able to have the opportunity to work with you. And I know that from Amy's perspective, she can have her baby in peace.
Good
So-
thing.
Thank you. And we'd also like to say that we are appointing Barbara Sparacino as the accountant in our business office. We had an employee return to closer to where she lived earlier this year, and we are happy to welcome Barbara to our staff.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Move on. Let me just shut that. So now we are at 10.1. May I have a motion to adopt, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, old business, sorry. 10.1. May I have a motion to adopt policies 4321.5, 5152.1, and 5152.1-R, the regulation.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Now we're at special education. I almost jumped right over that one. May I have a motion for 11.1, special education placements?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Quick summary, we are presented with 26 items in the packet, 18 of them coming from the CSE. 8 of those represent transfer student program reviews, 3 amended agreements, means placements and programs were adopted without an actual meeting. 4 were just general program reviews, and 3 of them were initial eligibility, of which 1 was declared to be ineligible. There were also 3 from the CPSE. Those were all program reviews, and 5 of them dealt with 504 issues and programs for those students.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. May I have a motion for 11.2, lead evaluator for APPR? That would be to certify Daniel Cowan as a lead evaluator for the APPR. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? May I have a motion for 11.3? Let me just get this down here. For first reading of board policies 4321, which is programs for students with disabilities under the IDEA and New York State's education law. 4321.12, use of physical restraints. 5420, student health services. 5420-R, also student health services regulation. 5400, student welfare. And 5450, student safety.
So moved as stated in the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Wait.
Okay, you're at.
On 4312.21.12, the restraint policy, I just have a quick question, like reading through this edited document. Can somebody explain the red versus the yellow highlighting and all that?
I probably should, because I think that was my highlighting.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was just curious, so is the red the new language, or, I just trying to understand what I was reading here. I mean, I get what I'm reading, but.
I believe in that the red, I mean, I know what
It's red,
I did.
italicized, and in parentheses.
There were some pieces that were not applicable to us.
Okay.
So anything dealing with something called aversive discipline, in the sample policy, it mentioned
Should be
that.
the red.
The state suggests that you not use those techniques. We don't use those techniques, and we wouldn't. So then it says, but if you do, so this is more for residential kind of placements
Okay,
with really
yeah.
dangerous situations. So, to protect staff, they're going to take really strong measures. So we just didn't want to have any reference to it because that wouldn't come into play.
Okay, so all this stuff, then we're not putting, it's not,
just
technically, it's
out.
not language, it's out.
It's out.
Right,
Right.
okay, because like you talk about timeout rooms, and then there's all this red.
Which we don't do.
I think it's might be helpful to know that in general,
Right,
red means it's out.
okay.
Highlighted means it's new
Can't you
language.
strike out, strike through, I mean.
Yeah, I suppose it's harder to read, but okay.
Yeah, but then I don't care, I mean, if
You
you're
don't
not
care,
using it, I
sure.
don't care what it says,
We-
it
we-
shows me it's not in there.
Right.
That was
Okay.
all. Okay. All right, I just wanted to be clear, because some
All
of
right.
what was in there was very confusing, the wording wasn't right, but now that it's
Okay.
not in, I don't really care.
Yeah, when
now.
we go into our meeting, it's easier for
Right.
us to look at that, but I suppose after we're done, we could do the
Yeah,
strikeout.
I'd use strike through,
think
because that
that's
shows you it's
reasonable.
not in there.
Yeah, and when I was
Right.
making suggestions for the policy committee, I didn't want to just take things out without letting people see.
Yeah, I
So
don't
they
even-
have a chance to
honestly,
see.
yeah, I don't
I'm
even-
suggesting to take this out,
Right.
but they see what it
Just, in other
is.
words, this was recommended language by the School Boards Association.
Right.
But if it doesn't apply, then you're not obviously putting it in.
Right.
Okay.
All right, fair enough. Okay, I'm good.
I just found out that normally, if you look at some of the other ones, it does have strikeouts, and we just
Okay.
missed it on that one. All right.
I just used.
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, so let me shut that down. May I have a motion for 11.4, recall of non-instructional employees, as stated in the agenda, please?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? All right. And I have a motion for 11.5, creation of a new substitute position.
So move.
Second?
Any discussion? Anybody want to?
Quick question. I gather this is the senior school security monitors is something we've added this year, and this is adding the substitute
Right.
hourly rate for them.
That's,
My question, and one other question, would people placed on this substitute list be required to have the same qualifications as the people who could apply for the original position?
the expectation is that they would be. If we find ourselves unable to recruit anyone with those, certainly consider others, but the same certification is preferred.
Now, currently, we have several filling the original position that have their certifications but have not passed, because it's not been given yet, the civil service exam. Is that my assumption correct?
I actually would need to double check that, Dan. I know that we had several people who were waiting to be approved by civil service and were. So I'm not sure who we have, if anyone, that has not
Left-
placed.
All right, because I looked back
I'll
on the.
double check.
I did a search and found the last one, and it said that, pending, at that time, it said pending the actual administration of the test and the passage and being reachable.
Yeah, that may still be true. I'll check.
All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. May I have a motion for, excuse me, 11.6, appointment of deputy treasurer. This is a deputy treasurer, what's her name there? That we just approved,
Barbara Tarasino.
Barbara Terracino, right?
So moved.
Oh, there it is.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Had we not previously appointed a deputy treasurer?
An interim one, yes.
We always, the
That's the
accountant
next,
is the deputy treasurer.
11.6.
So do we need to,
Do it again?
Well, we're,
I'm just wondering, do we have to
Continuing it.
remove that person that we appointed before we appoint somebody new to it? or-
When they accepted her resignation, that included that, I think. Just the
all
accountant resigned,
right,
right?
this happens to be the next item.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, and then we're
So-
doing the interim. Yeah, right.
I know, there's an overlap of a few minutes. Can we
Yeah.
tolerate that?
Yeah, I think we can handle it, yeah.
Especially
Yeah,
since
but-
it's the close of business a few
I
days
have a
from now, I think
motion
we're okay.
for 11.7.
I missed it entirely.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carried.
Penalty for premature voting.
At this time, I have a motion to re-enter public participation.
No.
So moved.
Oh, wait, we're going to do
We
11.8
amended the
first.
agenda.
11.8.
Oh, 11.8, I forgot, yeah, that's because it's not on here.
I'll
right.
move that and I'll read it.
I'll second that.
I'll move that whereas the superintendent of schools and Board of Education of the Hyde Park Central School District believe it to be in the best interest of the school district and the members of its school community to withdraw its participation in the New York State Education Department Memorandum of Understanding for participation in the Race to the Top federal grant in aid program. And whereas pursuant to guidance from the New York State Education Department, the district has fulfilled the following requirements for such, i.e. compliance with all applicable state and federal laws and or regulations, including the requirements of Education Law Section 3012-C and Subpart 30-2 of the Regents Rules, filing the currently unsubmitted final and expenditure report, annual program report, and the 1512 quarterly report for the period ending September 15, 2013. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Hyde Park Central School District, upon recommendation of Dr. Greer Reichik, Superintendent of Schools, hereby withdraws from participation in the Race to the Top program, nullifying the school's district's memorandum of understanding with the New York State Education Department dated September 22nd, 2011, effective close of business October 24, 2013, and directs the district clerk to give due notice of this resolution to the New York State Education Department Race to the Top Program Performance Management Office.
Thank you, Kevin. Any discussion?
I'd like to commend Kevin for the reading of that regulation in record time and clarity.
Actually, I just thought maybe we should have Kevin read every motion that we ever
I think he's
consider
passed the
going
test,
forward.
that's
I
true.
think that's.
Works for me.
And I'll work, my understanding today is that it's about a 3-sentence letter that we need to submit to the state education
Probably with a
department,
copy
so.
of this resolution, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, I'd send him the whole resolution and make
Oh, yeah.
him read it.
All those in
Floor
favor?
votes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, when I have a motion to enter public participation.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? We're now in public participation. Would anybody like to speak at us again?
Hi, Kathy Craven again. I'm just looking for clarification, make sure I got the busing. For home meets, we're leaving right after school. My question is, at the end of the meets, will there be busing back to FDR or to Marlboro? Away meets, they will leave from FDR again, but they may leave a little early depending on the destination. The coach needs to be hired by Marlboro because of union rules, as was explained, and practice. I know you're working on that, but will the transportation be both ways to practice and then back to FDR?
Okay, a couple things if I could follow Kathy, sorry.
I'm just confused. I just want to
No,
try
I'm
to.
breaking the
Yeah, we
rules.
gotta
Wait a
I know, me
second,
too.
you gotta
Should I
wait.
sit down?
Sorry.
Okay, we gotta close.
I was making the-
Anybody else? Any other person in it? Mr. Hughes? No? May I have a motion to exit?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? We're now out of public participation, and now you may comment to your heart's content.
Okay. We are seeking transportation to and from practices. So hopefully that will all work out. I wasn't sure what your questions were for
Returning.
the meets, the returning,
from
yeah.
where will it return? If there are
Is
immediate,
our bus going to follow the Marlboro bus to the site and be available to transport the kids directly back?
Yeah, I need to look into that, yeah. So is the return to Marlboro or all the way back here? I'll need to get back to you on that.
did you learn that in your meeting this morning?
Yeah. But I'm not the one in the athletic department or the transportation department. It would be shame on me if I didn't know the answer, but I will get back to you on that.
Go to the dashboard, it'll give you the answer.
Okay, is return
I dare you to do that.
Okay.
for all meets, right? Or-
Any other comments from the board? No? 13.1, board subcommittee reports. I know the policy committee did meet. Will let Gary report part of that. I mean, no.
Yes, and I'm starting to get used to it and starting to learn how to read again. A lot of reading involved, but no, everything seems to be going well. Everybody's prepared when they come to the meeting, so they go pretty smoothly, it seems. And I can't wait, looking forward to the next one.
Are there any other committee reports that I'm not aware of? Okay. Upcoming meetings. Let me just. Okay, Tuesday, November 5th is a teacher training day and there's no school, just so everybody's
It's also
out
election
there.
day, right?
Wednesday, November 6th is a facility steering forum at 5 o'clock here in the administration office. Thursday, November 7th is the Board of Education meeting, 7 o'clock here at the administration office. Tuesday, November 12th is the policy subcommittee at 3 p.m. here at the administration office. Wednesday, November 13th is the energy committee meeting at 4:30 here at the administration office. Thursday, November 13, is a budget input group
Yep.
at 6 PM at the administration office.
Actually,
Thursday,
it'd be
November.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. That would be Wednesday.
That's,
That
I
should
just
also
noticed
be
that.
Wednesday.
Yep.
oh, it's a Wednesday, I'm sorry. It just, in there was a Thursday. Thursday, November 14th is the DLT, District Learning Leadership Team, meeting at 6 PM here at the administration office.
And we're going to insert one, right? Because I think we've settled on an audit committee meeting before that, the last one there. So that'll be Tuesday, the November 19th, right? Here.
I haven't heard.
Oh, you haven't heard back? Oh,
We
that's a
haven't- yeah.
potential.
That's a potential one,
this point.
yeah. And Thursday, December 12th is a Board of Education meeting at 7 PM here at the administration office. And
I just got last to the minute that we got an invitation to a ribbon cutting ceremony at FDR High School, November 1st at 3 o'clock. And that's I love this, the Rockin' Reading Memorial Garden. And it is a student, two students, Brooke Schroeder and Michaela Variano. This is their Girl Scout Silver Project, so they have done a makeover in the garden at FDR, so you're all invited to a ribbon cutting, grand opening and ribbon cutting to the Rockin' Readin' Memorial Garden, November 1st at 3 o'clock at FDR in the lobby garden. And we also got an invitation from the Visual Environment Committee to a ribbon cutting on November 4th at 4 p.m. at the site, that intersection of 9G and St. Andrews. There was a collaboration between Hyde Park Visual Environment, Adams Fairacre Farms, and the Hyde Park Teacher Association have completely redone that little triangle of a garden, and there'll be a ribbon cutting ceremony there. So
yeah,
that's November 4th at
4th.
4 p.m. I'll include it in my
okay.
journal to you tomorrow.
I go by there every day on the way to the gym, and when they started, I said, what the heck are they doing? I had no, it just didn't look like it was going to be anything. It turned out pretty nice. So,
And this is after, oh, unfortunately, it's before
Right.
the election, so we're still gonna have all those stupid signs
Yeah.
to deal with.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Yep.
anybody want an exec session? You want to think about it for a while? I think we have no need for an exec session.
Could you, please?
May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Meeting is now adjourned.